Hello, this is the Watchdog. Welcome back to Fun with Watches. If watches weren't fun, you'd only need one. Today we're going to do a comparison video. We're going to compare the Squale 1521 with an homage of that Squale, the Steeldive SD1979. Let's start off the wrist check. I'm wearing this Demerson 20506, and Grego's wearing my Nabi Force 5040. Grego said Princess Leia is upset. Without her knowing, Han Solo signed her up to be on The Real Housewives of Mos Eisley with Peli Motto, Cara Dune, and Garza Fwip. She said, "None of us are even housewives. I'm Chancellor-elect of the entire Galactic Republic." Han said, "I was just hoping you'd make me a sandwich." Okay, we have two watches. We have the Squale, which is a Swiss-made watch, and it comes in this nice Swiss-made box. And then we have the Steeldive, which is a Chinese homage watch, and it comes in this plastic container. So here's the Steeldive, and here is the Squale. And as you can see, they're both set at the same time. I was going to do this comparison video a little bit earlier, but I had the Steeldive on the steel bracelet, and I just wasn't happy at all with this steel bracelet that it came with, because it's just huge, and it didn't have fitted end links, and the finish is different, so it was just inappropriate for this watch. So I went ahead and ordered the rubber strap. That was another option, and I'm much happier with it. So then I felt more appropriate to do the comparison video with the proper strap on it. So in all honesty, this one cost $1,100 and this one cost $107. So this one basically cost 10 times as much as this one. So basically, yes, this is a better watch. So the whole point of this comparison is just to show you the differences between the two, and you spend your money however you want. Now, I bought this watch with my AliExpress commission money, so it didn't really cost me anything. And I'm not sure if I would have bought this one otherwise, but I was really curious about it and wanted to put a little bit nicer watch than usual on my channel. But having this Steeldive, I've been very happy with it too. Now, of course, I can't keep them both, and I'm going to keep the Squale, and it's going to make me sad, though, to sell this Steeldive, though, because I really like it. So let's go over some differences. One difference would be the dimensions. The Steeldive is 42.4 millimeters at the bezel, but the Squale is 41.7. So the Steeldive is just a hair bigger. It's also got a bigger lug-to-lug. The Steeldive is 51.1 and the Squale is 48.4. Then thickness too, the Steeldive is 14 millimeters thick, and it has a dome crystal, where the Squale is only 12.7 millimeters thick, and it has a flat crystal. And also the lug width, the Steeldive is 22, the Squale is 20. Then the Squale weighs 101 grams on the leather strap, and the Steeldive weighs 112 grams on the rubber strap. So the Steeldive is just a little bit heavier too. Then when you look at the bezels, the Steeldive has a fully lume ceramic bezel, and the Squale has an aluminum bezel with just a lume pip. And the Squale, the action's a little bit better. It's a little bit stiffer, not quite as loose as the Steeldive. The Steeldive's just a little bit too light. It would have been nice if there was a little bit more resistance on the Steeldive, because the Steeldive, I do knock it out of place a lot, and I never do with the Squale. Then they both have flat dials, and the dials are very similar. Of course, the Squale, some people complain about all the writing on a Squale because it's got the logo up top, and then it's got this other logo on the bottom. But to me, it's never bothered me. Then, of course, it says Swiss made on the Squale, and it doesn't say China made on the Steeldive. Now, look at the color of blue, though. The Steeldive, I just prefer the color of blue of the Steeldive. It's just a little darker blue, not quite as light and not quite as metallic as the Squale blue. So I do like that. Now, when it comes to the hands and markers, they're about identical looking. They both have this orange minute hand. Although if you look at the Steeldive minute hand, the orange is a little bit thinner, so there's more room for loom. And you'll see later in the loom test that that does make a big difference. And they both have a date at the 3. And also, if you look at the Squale, you can see that the insert is held down with these little screws. So if you ever had to change the insert, it would be a little bit easier. Of course, they're so tiny, I would never attempt it. Then another big difference is the crowns. Yes, they're both at the 4 o'clock there, but the Squale crown actually matches the finish of the watch, where the Steeldive, it's a polished finish, so it's not the same finish. And when it comes to operations, there's no comparison either. The Squale is so much easier to operate. The thread action so much smoother, and then when you go to screw it down, you can actually screw it down without any problem, and you don't rub your thumb against the bezel and actually spin it. The Steeldive, on the other hand, there's a lot of resistance when you go to unscrew it, and when you go to screw it back in, it's really hard to do it without accidentally spinning the bezel. As you can see, I'm spinning it like crazy. So that's another reason why I complain about the bezel action being too loose, because I knock it out of place a lot. And then the crystals. There's no comparison there either. We got flat versus dome, and look at the AR coating of the Squale is just excellent. You can hardly tell there's a crystal there, where the Steeldive, you get quite a bit of reflection. So I really wish the Steeldive would have had a flat crystal. I just prefer flat. I just think there's less reflection on a flat. So crystal, yeah, the Squale is just so much better. You're really seeing a big difference there. Then we have the case. Both cases have the matte finish. But as you can see, the Squale, the lugs slope down a lot more than on the Steeldive, and so it contours to the wrist a little bit better and wears a little bit flatter. Plus the Squale is not as thick. And the Squale, you get 500 meters of water resistance, and the Steeldive, you get 200. So not only are you getting a thinner case here, you're getting more water resistance. It's really impressive that the Squale can give you 500 meters and still be this thin. Then when you look at the other side of the case, the edges here are just a little bit sharper on the Squale, just a little bit, looks a little bit nicer. Now when it comes to the case back, they're both screw down. The Squale, though, has a polished case back, and it would have been nice if they would have had a matte finished one. But then again, it's going to be on your wrist anyway, and you're not going to see it, so I guess it's not that big of a deal. But as you can see, the Steeldive, the finish matches the case. The Squale, though, the case back's a little bit thinner, which contributes to the thinness of the watch, but it's not that big of a difference. And they're both screw down. And then the movements. The Squale has the Sellita SW200-1, and the Steeldive has the NH35. These are both the workhorse movements for watches in their price range. The Sellita is a clone of the ETA 2824, and it's become the go-to movement because ETA doesn't sell as many 2824s to non-Swatch Group watches. And the NH35, this has been the go-to movement for Chinese homage watches. They're both excellent movements. The biggest difference is, of course, Swiss made versus Japanese made. And the Steeldive is also a 4 hertz movement, so it ticks 8 times a second, where the NH35 does 6 times a second. That's why the second hand looks a little bit smoother on the Squale. But they're both really nice movements. They hand wind hack, have bidirectional rotors, and about 40-hour power reserve. This is 24 joules, and this is 26 joules. And I won't put them on the time grapher. If you want to see them on the time grapher, see my reviews. Then we have the straps. The Squale came on a leather strap. That's because I got the blue model. There's other different Squales that you can get on the Tropic strap, and I probably should have ordered a Tropic strap for this comparison video, but I didn't want to spend the money because I really like the look of this 1521 on the leather. The 1521 does have a nice leather strap. It's kind of unique too, because the way it's doing the fixed keeper, because the outer keeper is the fixed keeper because it's fixed with a thread. That means the inner keeper is floating, and so it's easier to put the strap through the inner keeper. And it has a nice sign buckle with the same matte finish. Then the Steeldive has this rubber strap, and I didn't order this rubber strap originally because my rule of thumb is always go for the steel bracelet, but the steel bracelet that it came with didn't have fitted end links. Plus, it's got a brush finish instead of a matte finish, so it really wasn't appropriate for the watch. Plus, it didn't taper, and it's just really heavy, and it added a lot of weight to the watch, and I just didn't like this bracelet. But I wanted to put it on the strap that you can get when you order it. So I went ahead and ordered this official Steeldive rubber strap, and I've been very happy with it. The only big deal, though, it doesn't have quick release. It would have been nice if it had quick release. But it has a nice Steeldive buckle. Of course, this is brushed, not matte. But you don't notice that. And this has a really good feel to it. It's not silicone. It's definitely rubber. And I really like the strap. Here is the Squale on my 7.5-inch wrist. It looks nice. It wears nice. The way those lugs slope down, it really fits flat to the wrist. It's hard to believe that this is a 500-meter watch. Then I have 3 notches left on the strap, but they're pretty far apart, so you can put this on a big wrist. And they do make a bracelet now for this that has fitted end links. They just came out with it not too long ago, but I don't have one, and it costs $260 if I ever want to get it. And here's the Steeldive on my 7.5-inch wrist. That looks nice. That wears nice. I have 6 notches left, but they're really close together, so you can get the perfect fit. And you can wear this if you have a huge wrist. Here we are in the loom room. When it comes to Chinese homage watches, you don't get much better than Steeldive. So I have a feeling this is going to be one of the few places it outshines the Squale. As we split the time, we see that the Steeldive has that fully loomed bezel going on, plus much brighter indices. The hour hands are about even, but the minute hand isn't even close. I have to give this one to the Steeldive. So there you have it, 2 watches. So what exactly does the Steeldive do better than the Squale? Well, it does have better loom. And I do like this ceramic bezel that's fully loomed also. And I just like the color better. I like this color of blue It reminds me a lot of the same blue that they use on the Tudor Pelagos, which is my Grail watch. So there you have it. So once again, the Squale is $1,100 and the Steeldive is $107. And they're both excellent watches for the money. And thank you for watching my comparison video. And be sure to like and subscribe to my channel. And if you like either one of these watches, I'll leave an affiliate link for this Steeldive from AliExpress. And the Squale, I bought this one from Island Watch, and I'll leave you a link to Island Watch. But I do not have an affiliate link, so there's no commission for me if you do buy it from Island Watch. But if you do buy it from Island Watch, you might want to mention that you saw it on my channel, because I have a somewhat of a relationship with Island Watch. They've sent me a few watches before for review purposes, and I've bought a few watches from them. Bye.